Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming. My name is Kay Huff. I'm the Director of Coaching for Benco Dental, and we're super excited to have you on our webinar today. Just make sure, yep, we see everyone starting to come on right now. I see the number going up. So while that's happening, I am going to ask Chuck to give us a little update about what's going on with the supplies in our area and how ordering is going. So Chuck, you want to give us an update?
Sure. Hi, Kay. Glad to see you, and thank you, everybody, for being here today. The number one question we're getting asked at Benco is, will we have access to PPE, the equipment that you need to practice, masks and gloves and all that kind of stuff? And so the answer is yes. We are working very hard to fill in the supply chain. We are working. We do have our first shipment of N95 masks that have already arrived and been shipped out. We are working to get more face shields and other products that we think dentists will need to reopen their practices. So we're working hard at it. We just want to put a warning out there. We've seen a lot of counterfeit products getting marketed on the web, and we very much encourage everybody to only buy from trusted sources for this time period, at least until things get better and maybe even after that. So, Kay, thank you very much for asking. We're very glad everybody's here today, and we're very excited about today's topic.
So Chuck, just really quickly, so they can just still reach out to their Benco reps and still place orders and everything like that? Everything's
absolutely. Yes, indeed. We're open for business and ready to ship. So please do call, email if we have COVID-19 tests, so at least they're starting to come in. We have high-level masks. We have personal protective equipment, face shields, all that kind of stuff. So yes, please reach out to your Benco rep if there's anything that you want to order.
So guys, that's really good to know, because I think that's one of the questions that we're getting a lot of. Doctors are getting worried, like, when can we get started? We are ready. We can't wait for you to get back into your offices. So we are preparing, and we have the supplies ready for you. So all you have to do is make sure that you reach out to your Benco rep, and we'll take good care of you. With that being said, we're super excited about the webinar today. Just want to go over a little bit of the guidelines. Number one is that if you'd registered for your CEs, please make sure that you used your legal name that's on your license, because when you receive your CEs from us, it's going to come back in whatever name that you registered in. Also, make sure that you sign in. So if there's two of you and you both registered, in order for us to see that you're on, you need to be signed in on a device so that we can see that you're on. If you sign in on your cell phone, we don't see that. So all I'm going to ask you to do is please text your cell phone number and your name to practice coaching@benco.com. We'll bring that up later. Just want to make sure that we can compare your cell phone with your name to know that you're on. If you leave the webinar early, you will not be able to receive the CE. So that's another very important thing. Then also, when you receive your CE, you're also going to receive a survey. We really want to know what you want to know more of. We want to make sure that we're providing all those tools for you to make sure that you're taking care of your patients, yourself, and your team. So please make sure you respond to those. Also, it takes about 30 days to receive your CE certificate. So during that time, if you have any questions or concerns, just make sure you email us at practicecoaching@benco.com. We'll go over that again. The other thing I need to let you know is at the very bottom, you're going to see a Q&A. If you have questions during the presentation, we want your questions. We want to hear from you. So please make sure you type your questions in there. We have two of our Benco coaches on today. We have Donna and Elizabeth. We're going to make sure that we answer those questions, and also we'll be asking those questions to Catherine during her presentation. So please, we encourage you to ask us the questions that you want answered, and if we don't get to them on the webinar, we will also send you an email afterwards to let you know. So I think I went over everything, except for one more thing. Please take a picture of yourself while you're learning and share it on Benco's Facebook page. We'll give you that address at the end. We want to see our faces. We miss seeing you. This also includes our TRs. We need to see you, so we want all your pictures on our Facebook page. If you're doing a team meeting or anything like that, please take a snapshot and send it to us on our Benco Facebook page. Now, with that being said, the best part of my presentation is introducing my wonderful boss, leader of Benco. Chuck Cohen is actually the managing director. And all I will tell you is we were on a call with all of our TRs yesterday, or a lot of our TRs, not all of them. And all we could do is talk about how amazing it is that Chuck Cohen, the largest family-owned business in the dental supplies, is actually coming on and doing customer facing. And Chuck, I just want you to know that your team behind you is so appreciative of everything that you're doing for us and for your customers. So with that being said, Chuck Cohen, Managing Director of Benco Dental.
Hey, thank you very much. The highlight of my day is hearing Kay's introduction to me, which I only hope I live up to sometime. So before I introduce Catherine, I just want to say we had a question that came in. The question was, is Benco sending products to dentists or only to physicians? And the answer is we are open for business for dentists. If there's products that you want, please reach out to your Benco rep or call 1-800-GO-BENCO. We'll let you know if we have it. If we have it, how much we can ship. There are some products that are under ration, but we encourage you to place your orders, and we're happy to fill them when we can. And for most products, we can. So with that, Catherine, very happy to have you with us today. One of the most important issues, challenges, concerns in a crisis is communication. And what Catherine is going to talk about today are the techniques and tips for how to communicate well with our patients over the phone. I can't think of a more timely topic at this time. Patients have questions. Dental practices need to have answers. Catherine, you're going to tell us how to say, what to say, and what to do, how to do it right. Thank you, Catherine. Great job.
Well, thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Kay, Donna, and Elizabeth for putting this on. I think you must be so proud of Benco and of Chuck and of all of your people that are staying in front of your customers and communicating this way. So, and thank you for bringing me on and giving me this opportunity. This webinar is about exactly that. How do we stay in front of and stay in relationship with our patients and, truthfully, each other? But this webinar is particularly focused on how do we use the telephone, which is what I would say in a crisis, our number one, a crisis like this, where we can't be face-to-face with our patients right now. How do we use the telephone to communicate in the way that will be most beneficial to our patients and to the growth and sustainability of our practices? So that's what today's about. I couldn't be more excited. We're calling it Have Them at Hello, which means how do you have them from the moment they start to hear your voice? From the moment you answer the phone or your voicemail message answers the phone, how do you have them? Have them in a place where the patient interprets it as, oh, I feel good, I feel safe, I feel cared for, I feel connected, I feel this is better than I expected and better than I've experienced elsewhere. And so how do we have them from the moment we start this conversation? And you'll see the subtitle is Unscripted, very important, Telephone Skills for the Exceptional Practice. So the two words in that subtitle that I really want you to take away from today is unscripted and exceptional. You're not spending your time, I'm assuming that any of the hundreds of people that are on live with us right now, your customers, Kay and Chuck, anybody who's on live with us right now is not spending this precious time to become ordinary, right? That's not what we're doing it. We're doing it to say, how do we become extraordinary? And that's what I want to focus on. So we're going to talk about how did scripting come about and how do we leverage our own personalities and still keep consistent message. So we're going to talk about all of that today. All right, let's see if this works. Uh-oh, not advancing. All right. Well, let's see. Is it advancing on Yuri and Kay?
No, it's not. But Donna, can you jump on and tell us what, maybe help her out a little bit? Can you advance it, Leah?
No, I cannot advance it for her since she is sharing her screen.
Tell her which button does she need?
I think she's better off just going through the presentation and we can always send the slides out later since we already started late.
All right, then I'm going to stop let me see if I can do one more thing. Ah, I figured it out. All right. All right, can you see it, Kay? The logo?
No, okay, there you go, it's advancing.
Okay, good. Good. I tried a different way. Okay, so I just want to mention my company is called Lions Speak, and there's a reason why you see a lioness, picture of a lioness behind me and Lions Speak. I've come from dentistry. I started in college as a chairside dental assistant in Texas, and then I eventually moved into the administrative position over time and eventually ran that practice. Ultimately, I had the opportunity to help run a multi-location practice, which was really super fun to do. My career took me to Southern California, where I became a practice management consultant and did that for over 20 years, about 22 years. A few years ago, I decided to narrow my focus and not offer full practice management consulting any longer, but to only focus on communication skills. That was it. So we focus at LionSpeak on teaching unscripted, extraordinary communication skills in 2 lanes. One lane is patient facing, which is where we're going to be today. The other lane is team facing. So leader to team, a lot of team culture work, things like that. We're going to talk about, Kay, talk about an idea I have about that at the end. But today we're in that first lane. And something we're known for is this idea of unscripted communications. Now here's where that came about. It came about because I personally don't like scripts. I feel like I want my authenticity about who I am as a person and my personality to come through. And scripts are sometimes hard to allow that to come through. But as a business owner, I have an appreciation for how scripts came into being and why they could be important. So why they developed in our industry, or really any industry, was to create consistency. So let's say an owner of a dental practice has multiple locations, or multiple people, even in a single location, multiple people who might answer the phone or discuss finances or whatever the task is. What we're of course hoping for as owners and managers is that we don't talk to Kay Huff in that practice and we get a completely different experience than if they talk to Catherine Eitel-Belt, right? And so the scripting initially gave us consistency across all personnel and across all locations. But what it robbed us of, while it gave us consistency, what it robbed us of was authenticity and connectivity. So I'm the kind of gal that says, well, why do I have to give up one for the other? Why can't I have both consistency of message and brand and authenticity and connectivity? Why can't I have both? And I think there is a way. I would encourage you to ditch your scripts. But what I would encourage you to put in the place of those scripts are frameworks, what we call frameworks or protocols. But a framework's, I think, a better descriptor. What I'm going to show you today are some frameworks that you should reach agreement after this webinar. You should bring your team together and decide, what is our framework? Are we going to use the one Catherine suggested? Are we going to tweak it a little bit? What's our framework for new patient phone calls, for shopper calls, for financial conversations, for presenting treatment? Develop a framework, very simple. Don't make it more than about 5 steps, 6 at the most. We just know that's all the brain can handle in a normal conversation and remember without looking down at a piece of paper. So what you want to do is create a framework that you agree to, and you make a pact. Whoever's going to answer that phone is going to stick to that framework. But within the framework, Kay, they get to be who they are. If they're funny, we say, be funny. You know, if you're tender and gracious and kind, and that's your natural way of being, then be that. But show up big in that framework. Don't play small. Show up big. And we say, I always teasingly say, if you're direct in that framework, you should just be careful. If your natural state of being is to be, really direct, then just be careful. But you get to be who you are as long as we agree that we're going to follow this framework. And what's cool about the frameworks, Kay, is that anytime in the conversation, you'll know where you are. Even if the patient takes you a little bit off track, you'll remember, well, I was only on step number 2, so I have to get to 3 before so you have something that keeps you grounded and something that makes sure you get consistency of message and brand across that communication. Does that make sense? We still, even when we're teaching team communications, if we have something we teach called courageous conversations to help people learn how to have the conversations they've been avoiding with their teammates or their boss to the team. We teach this, but we don't teach a script on how to have a courageous conversation. We teach a framework, and within the framework, they get to be who they are. So it's really—
I love that. That is so important. It doesn't take, when I used to have to read, Catherine, I would be like, I would so focus on what I was trying to read that I would not even focus on the conversation. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And patients know when they're being read to from a script. We know when we're being read to from a script. But patients also know and have a radar for, you're really connected with me in this moment about this concern. They feel that. But we can't just let everybody do it their way. We do have to have some way of keeping it consistent, getting all the information we need, representing our brand of our practice in a particular way. And so I think the framework idea is a super idea, and we're really big believers in it. It's the only way we teach it. So let's get going. Let me see again how to advance my slide here. Can you see that, Kay? Is it advancing well?
Perfect. Yep.
All right.
Keep going.
So real quickly, just why the Lions? I'm not going to go into all the steps of the Lioness principle, but we base everything we teach on this principle we call the Lioness principle. And the principle at its core is this. It's grounded in the story of how a lioness teaches her cubs the one skill they need to survive, which is to hunt. And while scientists have identified that she takes them through 7 stages and does these very specific things to move them from being dependent upon her for their well-being to being independent, fully functioning lions, what really is happening during those 7 steps is she actually knows they were born with the knowledge and the instincts and the wisdom to hunt. They were born. If you've ever had a little house cat, you know that as a kitten, even though they're not hungry and they don't really need to hunt, if a leaf blows by in the wind, they're going to go chase it. They don't have to run back to their mom and learn 7 steps about that. So she knows, they don't know, but she knows that they were born with the knowledge, the raw knowledge. So her job is to create an environment where she can move them through these 7 stages and pull out what they already instinctively know how to do. We base all of our teaching on this principle that all of your people in a dental office or a dental supply company or a communications coaching company, doesn't matter, any group of people, all of the people there walked through the door with everything they need to be a great communicator. It's how humans survive. So actually, Kay, I'm going to give you and your audience some things to take away today. But the truth is they came to the webinar with all of the raw wisdom and ability and instinctual greatness to connect with people and communicate. I don't need to give that to them. You don't need to give that to them because they already have it. But humans forget they have it. People will tell me all the time, I'm just not as good a communicator as you are, Catherine. And I say, that's just not true. It's a nice compliment, but it's not true. And the longer you tell that story, Kay, to yourself and to others, the longer it will take you to step into your full power of communicating like a powerful dental professional. So I just want to encourage everybody, take this today. Know that you have it. You have it within you to be a leader, to speak from a strong platform, and you should not subjugate yourself and telling yourself and others that you're not a good communicator, because you can learn to pull that out and get back to the greatness that's in you. So
it's compassion. Wouldn't you agree? It's compassion, and we're all compassionate. We learn that way as mothers, right? Mothers, fathers, we're all compassionate.
That's right. And we need to remember that we have that in us. That greatness is already there. All right. So let's get down to business. So I want to show you why this is important, why it's important to talk about converting your new patient calls, dealing with people in this crisis, and outreach to your patients. I want to show you just some statistics that this is prior to coming into the crisis. This was some statistics we knew that most dental practices, this is according to the American Dental Association, most dental practices across the country are averaging about 30 new patients a month. Now, of course, that varies widely, but averaging across the country about 30 new patients a month. And we also know they're converting about they have about a 25% call conversion of the calls that are coming in. Imagine that, Kay.
Wow.
Fourth, that's what we know is the standard out there. It's ridiculous. So let's say you had 120 calls. If you're converting 20, you would have to get 120 calls to have 30 new patients a month. Do you see how this works? If you're only converting 25%, you'd have to generate 120 calls to get your 30 a month, if that's what you were converting. Now, if each new patient is, we know on average, is a value of about $1,250, and you have lost 75% of these callers, that's a big number, isn't it? Not only in calls, but more importantly, in dollars. So if you extrapolate that out, and you were only able, Kay, to double it to 50%, meaning, and I still think that's a very low metric if you're only converting half of your new patients. But let's just say we took this practice that was converting, an average practice converting 25%. We were able to give them some skills to bump them up to 50% conversion. We would add $450,000 at that $1,250 per patient. We would add that to the bottom line of the practice.
Wow.
That's almost $500,000 just by doubling their conversion rate. It matters. And coming back from this crisis, you do not want to be in this statistic. You do not want to be there. So I'm going to give you some skills that are going to help to make sure you are converting at the level that you should be. Because you can see it's
With that being said, Catherine, I think it's really important. I see doctors spending so much money on marketing and they don't realize. I'll go in as a coach, and we'll see, oh, they're spending like 120,000 on marketing, yet they're not really taking the time to focus on this.
That is for sure. We see it all the time. Matter of fact, we're collaborating with a lot of marketing companies right now who practices are sometimes reducing their marketing budget or dropping their marketing altogether because they're saying it's not working, when in fact they know, because most offices are recording their calls, and we can go in and listen to those calls, and when we do, we see they're not converting. So it's not that the marketing's not making the phone ring, it's that, and that's not always the case, of course, but for the most part, good marketing is going to make your phone ring. But we have to monitor how and train our people. In defense of the administrators on this call, I will tell you, because I was one for many, many years, and I just learned by the seat of my pants. It was rare I got good training. And when I did, I ate it up and I got better. And so we're going to also talk today about, if you're an office manager or an owner on this call, how do you get your people quickly trained and keep them trained over time? How do you do that without scaring them or berating them and making them feel badly about the training? So we're going to talk to you about how do you do that. It's super important, super important. All right, but we want to talk about two things. We want to talk about incoming calls and outgoing calls. I want to talk about outgoing calls right now, because right now things are different. The world that we're in and the world we're going to step back into when we get back to work, which we will, Kay.
Yes.
This will end. This will end and we will be back to work. And it is going to be a different world on multiple levels. But for sure, administrators are going to have to come in with their guns blazing in this way. We have to be prepared to answer a whole new set of questions we have never had to answer before. And right now is the time to stay in relationship with your patients. So I want to talk about outgoing calls right now and outgoing calls when we're actually back in the office. Right now, I want to make sure that people have whatever their patients hear when they call the office needs to be extraordinary. So a lot of times they're calling the office right now and getting a voicemail message. And the reason I know this is true, Kay, is because we've been checking in with some of our clients, and our clients, several of them, many of them, we've called during what would be considered normal business hours, and we're getting a voicemail message. And in some cases, I returned a call just the other day. This was not a client of ours, but I returned a call the other day, got their voicemail message. It literally, Kay, said, "We are currently closed because of the COVID-19 crisis. We are not sure when we will reopen. If you have an emergency, leave us a message and we'll get back to you." I mean, it was basically that. And I thought to myself, this office probably has as good intentions as any office I've ever worked with, but it does not come through in that message. It does not come through. What comes through is panic. What comes through is irritation. What comes through is we don't know what to do. There's no caring, there's no connection, there's no guidance that comes through. And so please certainly don't have a bad one. Don't have an ordinary one. Come together and say, how could we write an extraordinary voicemail message, because for many patients, this will be their line to you, and all of it is a representation of who you are. So I'd like to come back to this slide, but I want to jump to a slide, see if I can do it, where we're going to show you what a really great one might sound like. So, Kay, can you see that text there on the screen?
I see the after hours message. There you go. There you go. That's it, Carrie. You better read that
Good.
one.
So I know this is small print and I'm gonna read through it. And again, we're not a big believer in scripts, but this is one place I would write this out, because you're going to need some touch points to make sure this sounds really professional. And you can, let me just say, anything I want to show here today, Kay, I'm going to send to Benco for your coaches to use with your clients. And I'm also going to make it available to the entire audience here. Any of the things that they see today, I'm going to
So
make
guys, anything that you need, reach out to your Benco TR. We're happy to give you all this to our TRs. Our TRs are going to be in touch with our clients. So the same way, we want to make sure we're giving you everything you need. So thank you, Catherine.
All right, so here's just an example. And if you do want this, and I'll give you an email to get that, or you can get it through the coaches, feel free to edit it. This is just a place to start, but I want you to let me know, Kay, what you think about this message. So thank you for calling the dental office of Dr. Sarah Byron in San Jose, California, where we specialize in creating healthy, radiant smiles for our patients. We're unable to take your call at the moment, but we look forward to assisting you with your dental concerns as soon as possible. During this COVID-19 crisis, the American Dental Association has extended their recommendation for dental offices to treat only emergency cases until April 30th. While Dr. Byron fully supports this directive, and we will be postponing elective services until the government restrictions are lifted, we sincerely care about you and your family, and we're standing by to help you with any dental emergency or any dental related question you may have. We are happy to discuss your treatment and answer your questions, and we'll make ourselves available to you during this time via phone, email, or instant messaging through our social media channels. If you have an urgent need, please call this number so that one of our team members may respond to you immediately. If you have a non-emergency question, please leave us a message and we'll return your call as quickly as we can. Our current business hours are, and then you'd give those. We miss seeing our patients, and we anxiously await reopening when it is safe to do so, and continue our work of creating the most beautiful, healthy smiles in San Jose.
It actually gave me goosebumps. That was awesome. I mean, it really sounded sincere.
Yeah, and maybe you think it's too long, which is fine. When I do this when I give speeches on this, I'll sometimes read a message. Of course, it's not COVID related, but I'll read a voicemail message, and then I'll say, what do you think about that, audience? And most of the audience will say, oh, it was great, just like you, like we loved it. But I always have a few people that raise their hand and go, I think it was kind of long. And I'll say, okay, here's my challenge. My challenge is the greatness of this message isn't about the length, whether it's short or medium or long. That's not what makes it great. My challenge is, however long it is it extraordinary? Does it sound like Dr. Blah, or does it sound like an office that has an extraordinary level of service? It has to stand out. So you have to be brave. You have to have courage to be, I have a coach that I've worked with, and I adore this coach. But there's nothing warm and fuzzy about the way they communicate. Zero. They're very direct, which is really good for me. I often need that, especially in a coach. And so there's nothing wrong with it. And if that's the way your personality is wired, and you're gonna sit down to write this is gonna feel way warm and fuzzy. It's gonna feel way over animated. I want to encourage you that just about the time it starts to feel uncomfortable in terms of the animation and the warmth of it is when the patients are actually starting to feel it. There's almost like a gap between how we're feeling about it and how they're feeling about it. And there have been plenty of studies to show that this is true. So if that's your personality, get some help from someone else on your team that's the people person. Who's on your team that is really warm and a great communicator in terms of that warmth and personality? Let them help you take the facts of what your hours are and where to call for the emergency, and put some love on it, put some warmth on it, because patients, we know, respond to that. So make it extraordinary. We're going to send this out. Please feel free to edit it and put in your own personality. That's exactly what you should do. But don't.
Can I just say one thing too? We teach our doctors to do this recording. We tell our doctors we want your voice. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's great if the doctor's voice sounds warm and inviting, and they have a personality that comes through on the phone, that's great. If they don't, they'd be better served to have a team member do it that has that level of warmth, animation, and real open and inviting sound. So I love having a doctor do it, unless your doctor does not have the personality that can pull this off in an extraordinary way. Sometimes our gifts are in other areas. And so that would be my comment there. But yes, I love that idea. So Kay, does that, do you agree that we need to find ways to be courageous and bring that warmth through on the phone in every way that they could contact?
And this is just like my grandson was telling me about his orthodontist. This is every specialist, every single doctor out there, not just general, but every single doctor needs to have a message like this. I think it sounds amazing. And I think just when you were reading it, it just gave me goosebumps. So I love it.
You know, we miss seeing you. We miss our patients. And we're anxiously awaiting the moment that we can reopen when it's safe to do so, and when we can get back to the work of creating those smiles that are the most beautiful in our town. In your own words, put it in, but whatever your brand is, just don't settle. Don't settle for ordinary. You don't have to, and you shouldn't. All right, so I want to go back though to this idea of outgoing calls. So I believe right now, Kay, the practices should be divvying up first everyone that was on the schedule when this thing hit and that's on the schedule into the future. We should be taking assigning a few calls a day to team members to reach out to those patients, but it's very important the way we reach out. When we reach out, and this is happening, I mean, we've already received a few calls from our vet, from other specialists that we have, you know, been involved in some treatment or in a relationship with in our lives, Tom and I. And some of those have reached out to us just to check on us. How are your pets? How is everyone doing? Are there any questions we could answer for you? We wanted to let you know we are open and available for any emergencies you might have, or if you have a neighbor or a friend that maybe doesn't have a vet or their vet is not open, we just wanted you to know we'd be happy to answer questions for them as well. We just wanted you to know that we're here for you, and we wanted to let you know that we miss seeing you. So the calls that we're making now are not to book an appointment. They're not to, I mean, we couldn't do that really very well right now anyway. It's not to sell anything. It's not to promote anything. It's just to say, we care about you. We want you to know if you have a question, this is what you can do. You might even say, is there anything we can do to help you? Here's a good example. My husband is on a 3-month recall. And he's religious about it. And it has helped him so much. He has such a good hygiene team and dentist. And they have really helped him managing his periodontal disease. And he really attributes the elevation of his own health to that work. And so missing his, you know, going 6 months now, which may be what he's looking at, is really bothersome to him. And he starts asking me questions. How's this going to affect me? And is there a way that is there something I can be doing right now? Is there a rinse or something I could be doing so I don't lose all the ground that I've gained through all of that? Do you see? And so if our dentist reached out to us and said, gosh, we just want to check on you. How are you and Tom doing? Are there any questions? I'd put him right on the phone and say, absolutely. Do you see? So stay in relationship right now. Don't get discouraged and not reach out. Our patients need us just like they needed us before the crisis. They need us now. They need reassurance. They need to know that we love our work and we care for them. So reach out, get in relationship with them, but it's not about selling anything. This is a time to just be compassionate and to care about people. When you get back, then we're going to have a whole lot of other issues. We're going to have a lot of questions we're going to have to manage. We are at LionSpeak, Kay, you'll be interested in this. We have started a list from all the trainers that work at LionSpeak. We've started a master list of all the questions that patients we think will ask or are already starting to ask. We're making a list, and Monday morning, my team and I are getting together. We're going to go down that whole list of questions that we think patients will be asking the day we get back to our office about how we're managing our protection for them and for ourselves. We think they're going to be asking questions. Has anyone on our team had COVID? What if my husband has had COVID and I've been, exposed to it? Can I still come in? We think there's going to be a variety of questions that we're going to have to navigate, and my team's going to put together some answers, and we're going to make those available, no charge. We're going to make those available for people to bring back to their office and begin to use. So I'm going to give, again, a way for people to get involved and on our blog, because we'll announce the minute we have those ready. We're going to announce on that Monday morning stretch when those are available, and I'll make sure the coaches at Benco get a copy of those as well.
Maybe we can actually put them on our Facebook page. So maybe we can put them on our Benco Facebook page. I think those are really good questions, and those are things that people aren't thinking about right now. They're just really wanting to go back to work, but being prepared to answer those questions, I think, are going to be amazing. So thank you.
They're going to come day one, and so we shouldn't start practicing day one and figuring it out. We should figure it out now and practice it with our team. You could easily do a Zoom session with your team and practice these skills. Well, let one be the patient and just practice answering them. And I'm going to give you some ideas about how to listen and be compassionate around that. But I think it's important to get proactive about this. I would also encourage your listeners, Kay, to submit any questions they wonder how they would answer when they get back. How would they answer this question? Let them add it to the comments, and then we'll put that on the list.
That's a great question. So guys, if you have things that you want to add to Catherine's questions, go to the answer question and write it out, and we'll make sure Catherine's team will get you an answer. So again, if you have things that you think your patients may ask you and you're unsure about what to say, I know a lot of it's going to depend on your state, but type those in and we'll definitely make sure you get those, Catherine, and your team.
Okay, that'd be great. We're going to we're just going to make a master form, and then people can go in and tweak it to fit their practice or like you said, their state regulations. And but at least a master list, so we can start to get our head around what we want to say. So
I love that.
Yeah,
it's so good to work together on this, and we can really help so many people. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's what we got to do, is pull together here. So let's jump to incoming calls now. How do we make some incoming, or how do we take incoming calls? Because they're going to start the minute we get back. They are. People now have been without their hygiene. They're going to have toothaches. They're going to have needs, and we are going to start to get those calls. So I want to make sure everybody's really prepared with an unscripted, extraordinary way to answer them. So a couple of things that I want to say. If your new patient calls come from, if you're a referral base, so the majority of your calls are coming from a referral from a patient or a specialist, then some of this will be a little easier for you, and the conversion rates should be higher than if most of your new patient calls come from external sources, website, advertisements, social media campaigns. If your new patient calls are coming from a media source or an outside external source, the conversion rate's a little tougher, and you really have to be good at these skills to up that. So we just know that people are a little more skeptical when they come off of a website. All right. So we talked about the framework, and I want to deliver or give to you the framework we've been teaching prior to COVID-19, but it's going to be more important than ever for us to leverage this when we get back to work. So now again is a good time to practice these skills. So we've gotten it down to 4 steps, which we think someone could remember. If they just did a little practice, someone could remember whether they had their telephone VIP intake slip in front of them or not. So I'm going to give you the skills and talk a little bit about them. Kay, we don't have enough time for me to go. I mean, we take, I have a 2-hour audio training program, and we take, we do year-long training programs for offices on their phone skills. So we can't give every piece of this information, but I can give everybody a really good high flyover on this. Now, I want to say one thing right here before you see the steps. Nothing's going to shock you. Nothing's going to shock you. And here's why this is so important, Kay. These are basic tenets of good communication and certainly of good phone skills. And sometimes I see people go, well, of course we do. Of course we connect. Of course we, but we have done, every year we do thousands and thousands of call evaluations, thousands of them, Kay, for clients. And across the board, there are a couple of places that offices fall down in these 4 steps. So while they seem basic, if they were so basic and so easy, why don't we see more in those thousands of call evaluations? Why don't we see more getting high scores off the bat, right out of the chute? We don't. Because, and in their defense, they've often never had the training and somebody, a coach, to help them practice it. So I want to give you these, and I want everybody to really think about how well and how effortlessly they do this and how consistently they do it across the board. So here are the steps. The first one is to get in relationship with your patient. And there are 2 ways to do this. If the caller is calling about a non-urgent request, let's say they're interested, they just moved to the area, they're interested in getting established with the dentist, a new dentist, but they don't have a toothache and they don't have any there's no urgency to their call, then you want to connect with them on a personal level. What brought them to the area? How do they like it so far? Where did they move from? It doesn't really matter if they say, I've been, maybe they've lived here all their life, but someone at work referred them. So then you would connect, and it's non-emergency or non-urgent. Then you might connect with what's their relationship, or how long have they worked at that company, or, how do they know this person? Do they work next to them? Something that says, here's what it says. Remember, no scripts. I don't care what words you use to do this, but when we're evaluating a call, we're listening for, did they walk through the door and officially use the words to say, well, let me be the first to welcome you to our practice. I'm so excited that you called us. Tell me, how long have you worked at ABC Manufacturing? Did they walk through the door that the patient opened up? And did they say to the patient, in essence, I see you, I hear you as a human being first, as a human being first. Not a dollar bill, not an appointment, but as a human being. Now, if you do that, Kay, with someone who does have urgency, either a time urgency, they need something done before the wedding, or they have a pain, a symptom that is urgent. If you try to do that with them, they will be irritated, and rightfully so. They don't want to talk to you about where they moved from or how long they've worked at a company. They have a toothache, right? So the 2 ways that you connect is either the 2 ways you get in relationship is either personal connection, because it's non-urgent, or it's empathy about the urgency. So if someone calls and says, I have an issue that I'm very concerned about, or it's really hurting me, I'm going to say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you called us. First of all, welcome to our practice. And secondly, tell me about it. So they tell you about it. And we are listening for, did they express empathy? You'd be shocked, Kay, how many people, I know they're empathetic people. I know they are. Everyone drawn to this industry has got some of that in them, but it doesn't come through on the phone. Kay, when you and I see each other like this, you can see my smile, you can see my eyes, you can see my face, you can see my hand motions. We get to express ourselves with body language here. But on the phone, there's none of that. The only way we express anything is the tone of our voice, the pace or the speed of our voice, and the words that we use. If we don't use the words, they don't hear it. Even if you felt sorry or empathetic for this person, if you don't say it, they don't hear it. So please really make this a non-negotiable in your 4-step framework. Get in relationship, either personally connecting or empathetically saying, I'm so sorry that you've had that trouble. That sounds like it's really been bothersome. That sounds like you really, it makes sense that you would be concerned about that, and I get it. And let me see what we can do to get you in and get doctor to take a look at that and get you feeling better really quickly. You see, I'm saying to them, I heard you, and I am so sorry you've been experiencing that, and I'm going to do what I can to get you feeling better really quickly, right? So it just says, I heard you, all right? I got you. So do not skip this step, and don't think you're doing it just because you feel it. You've got to express it, all right? Second, and this, okay, if you ask me, which of the 4 steps do most people miss? I would say it's the next one. It is the next one. It is the one that will help you the most with shopper calls. It's the one that will help you the most with all the challenging calls that you have, because it is the one that does one thing that most people who are converting at a low level aren't getting. They aren't getting in control of the call. The person who's controlling the call is the patient. And the reason that is because the patient is asking the questions and we are answering them. If you listen to a call and the patient's doing asking all of the questions and the administrator is answering those questions, and that's the tone of the whole call, the patient is controlling that call. Whoever is asking questions in a conversation is in control of the conversation, whether that's in person or on the phone. So our job, most phone calls start with the patient in control, because the patient says, can I schedule an appointment for a cleaning? Or can I, how much do you charge for a veneer? Or do you do Invisalign? Or, they're starting with a question. I've got a toothache. How soon can the doctor see me? Everything they start with is some version of a question. So imagine if control is a baton, like in a relay race, they've got the baton. And my job is to go reach through the phone line with my skills, grab that baton of control and pull it over into my area. All right. And the way I do that is I answer their question with a question, not an answer. So how much do you charge for a veneer? I'm going to say, we call this step discovery. Discovery. So I'm going to say, you know what? I'm so glad that you asked that question. I'm so happy to answer it. I want to make sure I give you the right information and give you the right, answer the question that will be most helpful to you. So would you mind if I ask a couple clarifying questions first? I want to make sure I give you the right information. Or if they said, I want to schedule an appointment for a cleaning. In my mind, I'm like, well, I don't know. Depends on how you answer my next few questions. Of course, I'm not going to say that to the patient, but I say to them, gosh, I'd be delighted to schedule an appointment for you. I want to make sure I schedule the right appointment in the right amount of time. So would you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? It doesn't matter what they ask me. I'm going to say, absolutely, I'd be happy to help you with that. See, even if you know you're not going to give the price over the phone, I'm not going to say no. I try to avoid saying no here if I possibly can. What I say is, if they say, well, I'd like to know how much you charge for a veneer or how much you charge for a crown, I will say, well, you know what? I'm so glad you called us. And again, my name is Catherine. And what was your name? You always want to get their name right away. You know what? I want to make sure that I'm delighted to help you. And I'll make sure that I give you the appropriate information. So could I ask you a few clarifying questions first? So this patient thinks they're going to get what they asked for, and they're happy to answer my questions. But now, who's got control of the call? Who's got control? I've got control. And I need control to take them through my framework. If offices could discipline themselves to do this, and when we're evaluating calls for clients, we're listening for, did they somehow, in their own words, did they somehow welcome that patient, get in relationship, and then early in the call, did they get their name and did they get in control? If they did that,
I would say that the number one thing I hear, I totally agree with you. The number one thing I hear, you know what the main question I hear is, right? Do you take my insurance?
yes, that is the one exception to this. I will say, Kay, that is the one exception, because you can't say, well, let me ask you a couple of other questions. That one, I believe you have to answer. But can I give some advice on that question?
Yes.
I think it's a tough one. Well, it's not tough if you are. It's not tough if you're a provider on the plan. Then you're able to say absolutely, and you go through the call just like this. Where it's tough is when you're not a provider on the plan that they're asking about. That's a little tougher. So first of all, I'll say we already have proof, undeniable proof, that patients will go beyond their insurance. So let's assume they have a PPO you're not a provider on. We already have proof in our practices they will pay the extra. And here's the proof. I'd ask every office that's on this webinar today, have you ever had a patient that has come to you, it's been a patient a long time, they love you guys, they get some new insurance at work, they come to you and say, hey, my work just got this new insurance, do you take it? And you look at it and you're not a provider. Have you ever said to that patient, I'm sorry, we're not a provider on this plan, but you can still come here, you can still use your benefits and we'll help you maximize them? Have you ever had patients that have said, okay, well, I'll just do that, I'll stay anyway? I bet you every office that's on this call has had more than one patient that has decided to stay anyway because they don't want to leave their relationship. And
or if they leave, they come back. If they leave, they come back.
Even if they did, offices have tons of patients that have left and then come back. So we have evidence, indisputable evidence, that patients will go beyond their benefit if they feel that the value exchange warrants it. The trouble with a new patient called Kay is the new patient doesn't have a relationship with us. They have no value proposition yet. So for them, this question is the only value proposition. You either take it or you don't. So it's up to us, not the patients, it's up to us in this very short window of time to be really good right here, to be able to create some value. All right, so here's how you do it. First of all, stop telling people what you aren't, and stop telling people what you can't do. My strong urging for every dental office out there listening to this is that you, instead of saying, no, I'm sorry, we're not a provider on your plan, that you would say, well, I am delighted that you have some insurance coverage to work with. We are considered what's called an unrestricted or a non-contracted provider on that plan. Here's how it works in our practice. Here's how it can work in our practice. Do you see? I'm telling you what I am, not what I'm not. I'm telling you how it could work instead of how it won't work. It sounds little, but it's huge when it comes to answering this question. And you have to practice it. You have to practice it. So practice saying, I'm so glad that you have some coverage. We're considered what's called, and then you could use unrestricted, non-preferred. I like non-contracted provider, but any words like that will work. Here's how it works. Here's how you can use it and how it works in our practice. And so then you take them through how it works. Don't go into too much detail. Just make it super simple. But here's the thing. The quicker you can then jump to this discovery question. I'll tell you a real quick story. Years ago, I was observing, when I was a practice management consultant, I was observing in a practice. We were going to have a meeting that afternoon. And a call like this came in, and the gal that was the administrator there was very young. She was in like her mid-20s. And this question was asked of her. She was brilliant, Kay. I listened to her reach through that phone line, grab that person by the scruff of their neck, and pull them into that practice. Here's what she said. So her doctor was a recently accredited member of the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, recently accredited, which is a really hard thing to get. And so she said, she said, this is what we are, this is how it works. She said, but I'm curious, is there a reason that you're looking for a provider on the plan to use your benefits? Was there a specific reason? Are you experiencing any dental discomfort? And they said, well, we're not really experiencing any discomfort, but I actually, now that I have insurance, I really want to get my front teeth fixed. They look terrible. And the reason I have this insurance is I've been promoted to a new position, a sales position in my company, and I now need my smile fixed. And she said, oh my goodness, now this was her personality, so it was her personality, she could pull it off, but she said, if you were a gambler, you should go to Vegas, because if you pulled us, I think they found them on the internet or something, if you found us off the internet, us, in San Marcos, it is your lucky day. You are one lucky person, a winner for sure. She said, because you landed on the dentist in San Marcos that is the only dentist in this town right now that has a very difficult accreditation from the American Association of Cosmetic Dentists. And she said, my doctor, this is what he specializes in. He's extraordinarily good at it. And here's my strong recommendation for you. I would encourage you to at least come in and meet my dentist. At least come in and meet him. Let him show you what he could do. And then you can make your decision about whether this is the right place for you and whether this is going to fit. And I'll tell you another thing we're really good at. We're really good at helping our patients work the cost of their dental treatment into their budget. So it's my promise to you that if you come in, you'll be sitting in a dental office of the finest cosmetic dentist in our area. And we are experts at helping people find creative ways to afford the care they need. So we have an appointment here or here, do you see? She reached through that phone line. She did not say, no, I'm sorry, we're not a provider on that plan. And she ended up landing a very big case. But it's
Catherine, I will tell you what I find is I think we get so busy we don't take the time to really use that phone as a tool, because 100%, if you have someone coming in, someone checking out, and all this going on, it's like the sooner we can get off the phone, they think that's the best thing. But that is a great example of an amazing job that someone did to a practice. And I guarantee you that doctor is one happy man or woman.
Tell you, there's never been a better time, never been a better time to be an administrator, really in any position in this industry. When we get back to work, the employees and team members that have mastered these skills, if you could lay down a call recording at your next employee review, if you could lay down 3 of those call recordings that a company like mine had given you top scores across these skills, if you got top, imagine how hard it would be to turn you down for a raise or a promotion if you could lay down these calls and you could say, look, I just want to remind you, I've had perfect scores across the board on my last 3 call recordings. Right?
I'm just going to say this. I know that we're running like 2 minutes. I know, and so we were late starting. So I'm hoping everyone will understand. Now we have over 500 people on this phone call. So we may run over a little bit because I know Catherine has 2 more bullet points to get through. But Catherine, I just kind of wanted to let you know we are kind of getting close to the end, but I want to make sure we go over all 4 bullets.
There's so much to talk about. It's so much I want to, but you see the potential. You see the potential for that. Thank you for asking that question. I think that's a question most offices struggle with. And again, Kay, I'm going to say if offices want a little transcript of what I did, if they didn't get that all down, we have it all written out in my voice, which of course it might be different in someone else's voice, but you get the idea that we focus on the framework is this. I make sure that I tell them what we are. I make sure I tell them how it works and not the opposite. And then I get to this discovery question as quickly as possible. What's behind the screen? Why are they calling in the first place? They're not checking to see how many people are on Blue Shield. They're calling because they have something behind that question. And the minute we get behind it is when we're going to do much better. So really good. All right. Then it becomes a little easier. Once in discovery, there's 2 things you're trying to discover. One, you're trying to discover why are they calling? What is the issue? And what is the level of urgency around that? And second, what else do they care about? So they might have an urgent dental issue. They might also have a really big concern about money. Or they might have not a real urgent issue, but they're very concerned about someone who they can understand because their last dentist maybe didn't speak English very well and they had a hard time understanding and they're frustrated by that. So what else is it that they care about so that you can, in solutions, basically we're presenting now the answer to both of those questions. So in solutions, we're going to give the right appointment that matches the level of urgency, and we're going to give them some information that will help them with the other things. Do they want someone who's good with kids? Do they want, what do they look, someone who does Invisalign? We're going to be able to talk about some of those other things we discovered in step number 2. So solutions is pretty easy. There's lots more to that, but that's the basics. Then the last one is another set of questions like discovery, but they're different. In details, these questions are about 2 things. Because now we've already scheduled an appointment. So assuming we've scheduled an appointment, now there's information we need to give to the patient and there's information we need to receive from the patient in order for them to show up on time with all the information that they need. So this is about where do we send them to fill out their forms? How do we give them good directions to the practice? How do we make sure they visit our website if they haven't already? And even if they have, how do we direct them to the right page, to the right before and afters, to the right testimonials, given what we know about them now? All of those things happen in details. But you know what, Kay? A lot of people start with details. They start getting contact information. They start the phone call with contact questions, insurance questions. That's a terrible place to start your call. The questions at the first of the call are all around symptoms and what appointment would be appropriate. The questions about contact information and insurance information and all of that are saved to the end of the call, if we can. I mean, sometimes the patient drives it a different way, but definitely if we're in control, we're driving it and leaving it for the end. Okay, lots of reasons for that. And there's lots more to that, as you can imagine. But that's the simple framework. It's that simple. There's lots more levels and nuances about these, which of course we cover in our full training, but you get the idea. This can be simple, but it can be deceptively so. Mastering these is a whole another deal. So just know it's not hard, but it takes some attention and some practice to master it. And if you can, it can be very good for your practice and incredibly good for your career.
It
All
is
right.
the most important thing in an office. You know that. It is the most important thing.
I want to show our VIP intake slip. And what I want you to see on this is that we've done it in a way that it mirrors the 4 steps. It actually follows the 4 steps. So you're only looking at the front page. There's a back page to it. But you can see that some of this is in blue and some of it's in black. The blue is what you would say. And I'm going to make this, I'm going to show you on the next slide an email where you can get this. And Kay, like I said, we'll make sure your trainers get it too. And what happens with this is that offices can go in and customize the blue, the black is, if you got a yes there. So let's say you said, are you experiencing any discomfort or sensitivity? And they said no. Well, you would just drop down to the next blue. Well, are there any other concerns you'd like to discuss with the doctor, right? And so every time you get a no, you're just dropping down to the next blue. But if I got a yes there, then I'm going to hang out there for a while. And all that in the black are things I could ask. They're things that I might want to ask if I got a yes to that question. Now, I might not need to ask all of those. And you may have things you want to take out or put in. But you get the idea. I've got a sheet that is guiding me through these 4 steps, so I'm not left to chance. Really great training tool for new people, really important for people to nail these phone calls. So I'm happy to share it. If you would like a copy, it's in Microsoft Word. You can customize it to your practice. Just send us an email to info@lionspeak.net and put VIP intake form in the subject line, and we will make sure that you get that. Along with the voicemail message and all the other things that we're talking about. So again, just to recap, there's those 4 steps, super important for us to master. I want to end with this last content slide, and then I'll give you some contact information. There are some metrics that you should be, windows that you should be landing in if you're doing this really well. One is, depending on where your new patient calls come from, are they mostly referral based or are they mostly media based and advertising based? If they're advertising based, you should be at a minimum at 60% conversion if you're doing this well. And it won't be hard to do that if you are doing it well. If you're referral based, you should be closer to 90 to 95%. You should be getting almost every call if someone that someone trusts said you were the person to go to. If you can't convert that call, something is massively wrong with your phone skills. But when you get a call off of a web search, they're a little less, there's a bigger gap to jump. And so we bring the metric down a little bit to about 60%. You should not have more than a 10%. You actually should have less. About 5%, 3 to 5% is what we look for in referral-based practices for a no-show rate for new patients. We can bump it as high as 10 or 20 if it's completely advertising based and most of the calls are coming from web searches and things like that. We also should be getting a 3 to 1. So for every $1 that you're investing in any kind of marketing, you should be getting a $3 return at least in terms of the dollars of treatments that are accepted. One little word about call recording. If you do not operate on a system that records your phone calls, I would highly encourage you to check that out. There's lots of programs. I'm sure Benco has some recommendations for programs that can help them. We do too. We actually have a brand new program coming online in about the next 30 to 60 days that will be a call recording system. Not only will the calls be recorded, but every call will be listened to, and every call will have a 1 to 3 sentence synopsis of the call. What did the patient want? What happened in the call? Was it converted or not? We'll know who answered the call, and we'll be able to keep separate metrics on every person in the practice and how they're doing. So it's going to be an extraordinary piece of software. We're very excited about it. We have it in beta testing right now with 3 clients, and we're so excited. But right now, if you're recording your calls, or you start to record your calls, or you hire a mystery shopper call company, I think it's important that, you know, Kay, you and I speak out in the dental industry. And I know you'll agree with this, if you want to get better as a speaker and be on better venues and get paid higher honorariums and be the speaker that everybody wants, you're going to get some coaching. You're going to go, and every time I've gotten coaching, the first thing my coach has said is, let's see a recording of your next speech. Let's sit down and watch it. You tell me what you think you did well and where you need improvement, and I'll give you some feedback as well. I sit down.
For me to say, Catherine, because you were my coach.
But
You were my coach, so yeah.
And recording yourself. So here's the thing, if I want to get better, I hate watching myself. I will hate watching this back. We all hate the sound of our voice, and we hate watching ourselves. But if you want to accelerate your career, you've got to have the courage to do it. Now, I will say, I think that we've had some mystery shopper call programs in our industry that haven't done this very well. They've been very punitive in their approach. They've been very harsh with people. I think they have not been as supportive as they could have been with the administrators that are trying to get better. So we're on a mission at LionSpeak to change that. We don't want to record people without their permission. We don't want to play it for other people without their permission. We want to make sure they feel supported. They look forward to the discussion about the call. They don't dread it. And we also don't ask them to say things that are A, not true to patients, and B, that follow a script that doesn't sound like them. So I think there's a better way to do it. If you're an administrator, or you're an office manager, or you're a training manager out there, I think the best thing you can do is develop a positive approach to listening to these calls with your people and making sure that they're not punitive in nature, but that they are helpful training tools. But we should be not assuming that our people are doing it. We should be giving them the support. They need our support, and they need our training.
Is this your last slide up? Because they're going to be switching over, and I want to make sure you got your last one up.
Yep. Let me just move to that one. So here's a program we do have available right now, which is our Superstar Training Program. It's an all-inclusive program. It has our download of our full training for your team, and you keep it for future team members. It also includes a 90-minute virtual kickoff with one of our incredible trainers. Then there are 5 mystery shopper calls a quarter that you get the call and the report. And then every quarter you get another hour with the trainer to go over the last 3 months and to make sure everybody's on track for what they're doing. You also have access to our webinar library. So if you'd like more information on this, again, just shoot us an email at info@LionSpeak, or go on our website at LionSpeak. It tells you all about it there. We'd love to help you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I just want to say these are some of the other services that we offer. Again, on the website, you'll see that. And you don't need a script to get better. You can be you and get better. I'd love to support you in any way possible. So, okay, I wanted to say that on the website, there is a way for them to sign up for our Monday morning stretch. So it's something I've been doing for 10 years. Every Monday morning, I write a blog about communication. So if you sign up for that, which is free, then you'll get the announcement of the verbal skills piece and the announcement for some of the things we've been talking about.
Fantastic. You gave us so much good information. I hope, I know you have another course that you talked about maybe coming back and doing. So guys, give us some feedback. Let us know what you thought of today. Catherine's more than willing to come back and offer more coaching, especially during this time. So please, on your comments, or either email us at practicecoaching@benco.com. Tell us what you want to hear from Catherine, and we make sure we'll get that out to her. I know she has a leadership workshop that she talked about doing with us. I want to talk to you about our upcoming webinar. We have Dr. Moorhead's going to be coming out, and I'm super excited. He's amazing. I know Catherine, he's a good friend of both of ours, right?
Yeah, he's great.
And so he's going to be really talking about, protocols and steps that we need to take when going back, back in front of our patients, and making sure that we review the needed protocols that, need to be updated, because a lot of things have changed now. And so we're going to be really getting some great information from Dr. Moorhead. So please make sure you tune in on April 21st. It's going to be at 3:30 Eastern time. It's 2 hours, because he's going to be giving us so much great information. So that's going to be amazing. So make sure you sign in for that. Again, it takes about 30 days to receive your CEs. So just be patient. Our CE department, Maria's been doing an amazing job. So thanks, Maria, and we really appreciate it. And Catherine, listen to this. We really want people to express themselves, whether they're doing something fun. Please share it with your team. We want pictures on our social media. So, you please, maybe we can do something together and pick the best one, but tag us on all of your pictures. We want it to go to, you have to tag at Benco Dental when you post your Facebook page, right, Catherine? Is that how it works? And then we'll be able to share it. So Take some pictures of you learning. You know, Catherine, what you said, maybe take some pictures of having a virtual team meeting with your team.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing some fun training and some fun interactions with your patients would be amazing. Yeah.
We want to see your faces.
There's some questions down there. So just make sure that everybody knows that while we didn't have time here, definitely if you send those to me, I'll do my very best to get some answers back.
So that's what I was getting ready to tell you, is that at the end, we want to hear from you. So again, we will be sending those questions over. I know there was quite a few questions, Catherine, so we will have the coaches send them over. That's because you gave us so much good information, we couldn't stop. So if you have any feedback or you have anything that you want to know extra, Catherine, just please let us know. You can do it again at practicecoaching@benco.com. Catherine, I can't tell you enough. Your information was amazing. Thank you so much, and I look forward to having you back soon.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity to share with your listeners, Kay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you guys later. See you next time.